Welcome back to the deep dive. We're diving into something a ton of you requested. Fear of speaking English.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It really is. We've got some great expert advice lined up for you all today. It's interesting, right? Like you think you're the only one,
Oh, totally. You feel so alone.
but it's so common. We're going to look at why this fear happens and the big thing, how to build confidence.
You hit the nail on the head. It's that pressure to sound perfect. It's like everyone's trying to be some kind of amazing public speaker, and it's just so intimidating.
I know, right? Like we forget, even native English speakers mess up. They use slang and they pause, probably say way more than they should.
For sure.
The experts we're looking at today, they say it's not about perfection at all.
Yep.
It's about communicating, actually connecting with someone.
100%. And I think a lot of that pressure, it comes from thinking people are judging every little mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But the experts challenge that. Think about it. When someone's trying their best to speak your language, are you like analyzing their grammar?
No.
Or are you more impressed that they're trying, that they're making that effort?
Exactly. That's such a great point. I know I'm always just trying to understand what they're saying, not like grading their grammar.
Exactly.
So one of the first things these sources talk about is like changing our mindset.
Yeah, and they give some good ways to actually do that. One source talks about this replacing negative thoughts with like positive affirmations.
Well, okay.
So instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to mess this up, you tell yourself, I can communicate, even if I make mistakes.
Okay, I like that. It's like retraining your brain, right?
Yeah.
To focus on the good stuff, not the fear.
Yeah. And another thing they suggest is constantly reminding yourself the goal is to share what you're thinking, not to be perfect. It's the message that counts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, another big one is the fear of just opening your mouth and speaking.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It can be. But one source had this great analogy. It was about learning to ride a bike.
Oh, tell me. They said just like, riding a bike, you're going to wobble. You might even fall a few times. But the more you practice, the better you get, the more confident you get.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't, like, get on a bike for the first time and expect to be in the Tour de France. You know?
Right. Of course not.
So you don't have to start with these super complicated English conversations.
Makes sense. You build up to it.
Right. And that's where the idea of practicing every day comes in. Now, people hear that and think, ugh, classes, language partners. But you can practice by yourself, too.
That's good to hear. Because sometimes I just get too nervous to practice with anyone else. So what are some ways to practice alone?
The sources have some great ones. Talking to yourself out loud, even if it feels a little silly, is super helpful. Recording yourself and listening back. You can even use those voice assistants.
Oh, yeah.
Like just chat with Siri or Alexa, get used to hearing yourself speak English.
I'm already feeling better and we're just getting started.
C, it's about taking the pressure off, making it fun. And one source, they even connected this regular practice to exposure therapy, that psychology term.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Isn't that where you face the thing you're afraid of gradually?
Exactly. The more you practice, even just in easy situations, the less power that fear has. You get less anxious over time.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And they say it doesn't have to be hours a day either. Just a few minutes regularly can make a huge difference.
It's all about consistency, building that positive habit loop.
Okay, so building habits. That reminds me of another thing they talked about, starting with simple conversations.
Yes. It's about those small, everyday chances to actually use your English. Like the sources give examples, greetings, ordering food, asking for directions, stuff you probably already do.
It's smart, right? It's not jumping into these big debates right away.
Nope.
It's like dipping your toes in, getting comfy, then slowly pushing yourself further.
That's a great way to put it. And one source even connected this to that zone of proximal development idea from education.
I don't know that one.
It's basically you start where you are, but with support and the right kind of challenge, you keep growing your skills.
Love it. Okay, so we've talked about mindset, practice, starting small. What else do these experts have for us?
There's two more big steps they talk about that are really key for confidence and fluency.
Okay. Hit me with the confidence boosters. All right, so we've covered some great steps already for getting over that fear of speaking English. But one thing that really stood out in these sources was visualization. It almost sounds too good to be true, you know? like some self-help guru trick.
Right. But the cool thing is there's actually science behind it. It's not just some like mystical thing. When you really picture yourself doing something, like speaking confidently, your brain fires up those same pathways as if you were actually doing it.
Oh, wow. So it's like a mental practice run for your brain, getting it ready.
Exactly. And one source even mentioned athletes use it, performers too, anyone trying to get better at something. So why not use it for a language?
Makes sense. Okay, so how would we actually use visualization for this to get more confident speaking English?
The sources suggest taking a few minutes each day to really get into it. Close your eyes and imagine a situation where you need to speak English. Could be ordering coffee, giving a presentation, even just chatting with a friend.
And we're not just picturing ourselves speaking perfectly, right? It's the whole experience.
Yeah. See yourself speaking easily, people understanding you, and the big thing, feeling calm and confident. Really notice how it feels to express yourself clearly, to connect with people in English.
I like that. It's like making a mental plan for success.
Yeah, and the more you do this visualization, the more your brain starts to believe it's possible, makes you less anxious in real situations too.
So it's about training our minds to see that success, not just focus on what could go wrong.
Exactly. I'm going to try this for sure.
Me too. Okay, so speaking of actually doing something, one source had this challenge. It's so simple, I love it.
Oh yeah, what was it?
They said, record yourself speaking English. Just 1 minute each day. Could be anything. Your day, what you're thinking, some funny story, whatever comes to mind.
It's a great idea. It doesn't feel as scary as I thought it would.
Right. It's a low-pressure way to see how you're doing, get used to hearing your own voice, and just build that habit of speaking. Like that saying, practice makes, well, you know the rest.
Progress, not perfection, right.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned earlier some people might be shy about practicing with others, but I know a lot of the sources also talk about joining those English-speaking groups or online communities.
Oh, definitely. That's where immersion really comes in. Surround yourself with the language, hear different accents, different ways of speaking. It helps you learn faster and sound more natural, too.
And they give such good examples of where to find these communities.
Yeah.
Everything from Facebook groups, those language exchange apps, to actual meetups and events.
Exactly. There's something for everyone.
This is making me realize there's so much out there already. It's not about starting from scratch. It's about finding those existing communities, those support systems.
Right. And that reminds me, it's important to remember everyone's journey with speaking English is different. Some people might have specific worries or anxieties that need extra help.
That's true. We actually got a listener questioned about accents. They're worried that having an accent will, hold them back from speaking confidently.
That's a really good question, and honestly one that a lot of people think about. The first thing to remember, accents are totally normal. They're part of what makes language interesting. They show our backgrounds, our cultures, how we learned English.
I agree. I love hearing all the different accents in English. It's so cool.
Right. Imagine if everyone spoke the exact same way. How boring would that be? But I get the concern. In some places, certain accents are stereotyped, or people even discriminate because of them.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's totally understandable to feel self-conscious.
So how do we deal with that? Should we try to get rid of our accent completely?
I don't think that's the goal. It's more about finding that balance between speaking clearly and still being yourself.
Okay, I like that. So clarity means making sure people can understand you.
Right. And there are things you can practice to improve your pronunciation so you don't accidentally confuse people, but that doesn't mean losing your own unique voice, your accent. The sources actually say that embracing your accent can make you more confident.
Interesting. So it's about owning who you are while still working on being clear and easy to understand.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the confidence part comes in. When you own your accent, see it as a good thing and not a bad thing, it changes how you speak. It shows you're not afraid to be yourself.
Love it. Like you're saying, this is me, this is how I speak, and I'm proud of it.
Exactly. And one source made this distinction that I think is really helpful: fluency versus accuracy.
Ooh, okay, tell me more about that.
They said fluency is about how smoothly you communicate, being able to express yourself and connect with people. Accuracy is about getting every single grammar rule and pronunciation perfect.
And I'm guessing that focusing too much on accuracy can actually make you LSS fluent.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's like worrying about hitting every note perfectly and forgetting to just enjoy the music.
That's such a good way to put it. So it's okay to make mistakes, to have an accent, as long as you're getting your point across and connecting with the other person.
Exactly. Think about those times you've connected with someone who speaks a different language. It's rarely because their grammar was perfect, right?
Right.
It's because they were trying, there's that genuine effort to communicate, you understood each other, and that's something we'll be diving into more in the next part.
It's getting good.
Yeah.
What else is coming up? So we've been really focused on how to get over the fear of speaking English, from the speaker side.
Yeah.
But the sources we've got, they keep saying communication is a two-way street.
That's such a key point. And I think it's easy to forget. We get so caught up in our own worries about speaking, we don't think about the listener's role, in making communication actually work, especially for someone learning English.
Oh, for sure. I'm totally guilty of that myself. So how can we be better listeners to make things easier for those learning English?
Well, one of the best things is just practicing active listening. And I don't just mean hewing the words, but really being present in the conversation, showing the speaker you're interested.
Yeah, one source pointed out it's so easy to fall into those bad listening habits.
Oh, absolutely.
Like we get distracted by our phones or our mental to-do list, all that stuff going on in our heads.
All the time. And for someone who's already nervous about speaking English, those little cues, if you look away, don't really react it, can make them feel even more self-conscious.
Yeah, like we're accidentally saying, I don't really care about this conversation, right? Which is awful.
Right. So first step, put the distractions away, phone down, make eye contact, nod along, use body language to show you're paying attention.
Makes sense. You're creating that connection, showing the speaker, hey, you've got my full attention.
Right. And another thing we do, without even thinking, is finish people's sentences.
Ugh, I do that all the time.
I know, me too. Especially when someone's searching for the right word, we think we're helping, but
But you're right, it could be super frustrating.
yeah, you cut them off, make them feel like they can't express themselves fully. So try to resist that urge. Be patient. Give them the space to find their words. Let them finish their thought.
It's about respecting their process, right?
Totally. They're thinking in another language. It might take a little longer to get it out. And if you genuinely didn't catch something, it's okay to ask. But do it in a way that's encouraging.
Oh, good point.
So instead of what or huh, try saying, could you repeat that last part? I want to make sure I understood you right.
That's a small change, but I can see how it would make a big difference to the speaker.
It really does. It shows you're really listening. You want to understand them.
This is making me think about active listening in a whole new way. It's not just sitting there quietly. It's about actively participating, making the other person feel heard and respected and, encouraged.
You got it. And another tool we can use is affirmation.
So like complimenting their English.
That's one way, but it can be more subtle too. Acknowledging how much effort they're putting in, their courage to speak up, especially in a language they're learning.
So it could be something simple, like, thanks for sharing that, or I appreciate you explaining this to me.
Exactly. You're recognizing they're going outside their comfort zone, and that deserves appreciation. And sometimes, honestly, the best affirmation is just a smile. A real, genuine smile that shows warmth and encouragement, like, we're in this together.
This whole conversation has really changed how I think about the fear of speaking English. It's not just about the person speaking, it's about everyone creating a welcoming environment where anyone feels safe to speak, no matter what their language background is.
That's beautifully said. And when we all take on that responsibility as listeners, we're doing something really important. We're helping make language a bridge, not a barrier.
I love that. So to everyone listening, whether you're working on your own fear of speaking English or trying to be a better listener, remember, communication is a team effort. We all have a part to play in making sure everyone feels comfortable sharing their voice.
So true. We hope this deep dive has given you some good tools and a new way of thinking about this fear.
And remember, learning a language is a journey. It takes time. Embrace the challenges, be proud of your progress, and never stop exploring the amazing world of communication.
Until next time, keep diving deep.